we should be live.
This is a mask, like a personal filtration mask that no joke has 16.8 million colors of RGB lighting, so that it can like RGB all over your dystopian mask, as well as
my Twitch
voice
chat
amplification. So even though it's airtight to your face, it will broadcast your voice out of the mic. So that was wild. Plus they came out with their Project gaming chair, which I saw
to give you some
comparisons online to
understanding of what's going on. I had to reinstall Windows this week. Well, I technically didn't have to, but I ended up reinstalling Windows this week. What that means is everything is kind of all brand new. And so what that means is that nothing works is probably the more apt way of describing that. And so I'm, I guess, apparently still setting things up somehow. Let me just find chat for Twitch and I will be back to normal. I say normal. And that won't. Oh, this is weird. Okay, well, that'll have to do. Hello people, how's everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How's everything? How has everybody's week been? Sort that. Okay, close enough. Hello, hello Cybertron, hello Enter Unknown, hello Sophie, hello Wicker, hello Niels, hello Desperado, hello David, hello Essentialist. How you guys doing? I was kind of hoping for the stream manager to show me chat, but apparently not. So this is the best I've got. Right. My week's been great actually. Nice. What you've been up to? Fine, thanks to you. Yeah, it's been a pretty interesting week. Is probably what I would say there. I had my main PC basically fail on me over the course of a few days, and I figured that since I hadn't reinstalled Windows for a while, I would try that as a sort of, you know, first step in diagnosing things, because essentially I've replaced all of the parts in my PC in the last couple months, and so I figured that it would be all good. Apparently not. And long story short, my motherboard was giving out almost entirely, and so I have now swapped it out for the same motherboard but a different one. It's still an X570 Master from Aorus, but it's a physically different board, even though it's the same one. And so my PC is now pretty much back up and running. But then my test PC motherboard died, and so I need to rerun, or I've been rerunning a load of benchmarks for a set of videos that I've been doing, and so that's been a pain. And just physically and mentally I've not been great either, so yeah, fun times. Got a question, just set up my first PC. Nice. If I have AMD driver set with OC, does Afterburner override that? Honestly, I'm not sure. In theory, AMD software for their own hardware is going to be the more be-all and end-all. With that said, I honestly don't know how they interact in terms of having two overclocking programs, you know, at the same time. I would assume that they're smart enough to work out most of the figures that you're looking at are percentages or to set clock speed values and stuff like that. So I imagine that it would be okay. What I'd probably do is, if you are going to be using both of them, which I'm not quite sure why you would, but if you do want to, then having monitoring the core speeds, the voltages, that kind of thing directly while you play with it might be a good idea. Had to swap out boards on my son's PC. It was a lot of fun. Indeed it was. Upgraded my laptop's RAM and storage from 8 to 16 gig for the first time all by myself. Nice one. That's awesome, man. Congrats. Yeah, it's like upgrading your especially laptops, especially if you're buying like a budget machine, you upgrade it later, is a really good way to help either prolong the life of your machine or make it more usable for you. Like you say, going from 8 to 16 gigs of RAM can be really good, and especially if you bought a system with like a 120 gig SSD and a 1 terabyte hard drive, swapping that SSD out for a bigger one, or even swapping out the hard drive for 1 terabyte SSD or something like that, is really good shout. Pack, honestly, Windows Defender, like the built-in one, works just fine, and will protect you from basically everything that all of the paid ones will, but won't be difficult. So yeah. Hello Phil, how you doing, man? Hello Mac, or should I say Louis? And hello Tom. Apologies for the people on Twitch. My Streamlabs OBS window has broken, and so I can see you in a about 200 pixel by 500 pixel box right now. Wait, pulled the trigger on a Triton 500 2070 after my recommendation when I asked last year. I was going to hang around for 30 series laptop, but hey, I can live with last jet. Nice. It's still a really decent machine. For sure, you're going to have a lot of like good performance with it. Sure, a 30 series laptop will give you a bit better performance. I suppose the question will be whether it comes at the same price, stock availability, all that sort of stuff. I think you're probably going to be waiting a good few months before you actually see those 30 series laptops in people's hands, and then probably another few months after that before you can actually get one. I have an opportunity to buy a 3060 Ti right now, or should I wait for the 3060? Well, the 3060 Ti is a better card, and so as long as the price on the 3060 Ti isn't too much above retail, yeah, good shout. Hello, Simon. How you doing, man? Hello, Agent B. How you doing? Does MSI boards it have their own issue with sleep mode, like moving the mouse using the keyboard doesn't work? I think like it kind of depends on which USB ports, if you've enabled or disabled things in BIOS or in Windows. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. What's the best Wi-Fi card for desktop? I have an AMD CPU and a B450 RG motherboard. In terms of outright best, I'm sure that there are some crazy ones. Realistically, the majority of the PCIe ones that you can buy with a couple of antennas and AC or AX Wi-Fi are going to do just fine from TP-Link or whoever else. Please suggest a budget mechanical keyboard. It depends how budget you want to go, feature set, that kind of thing, but who is it? Drevo makes some good ones. Oki used to, but there was another one. Who was it? Oh no, it's the Drevo Grammar is the really small one that's super cheap. So have a look at that. There's also the Keychron K2, which is really nice and I think is like under $100. So yeah, it depends what your definition of budget is, but check out Drevo and check out Keychron. 3060 Ti costs 630, but in Russia VAT is 20%, and it's impossible to buy it any cheaper. Gotcha. How much would the 3060 be for you? Have you had any look at the new undervolting options for Ryzen 5000 series CPUs? Interested in doing any content on it? I haven't. I only have one, and I've spent most of my time fixing things over the last couple of weeks. So at the moment, no. I'm also not very, I suppose, well versed in that sort of thing. So at the moment, I'm probably not the best person to be making content about that right now. I think I will continue to learn a bit more so that I can understand it a bit better, so that I'm not just an idiot reporting whatever I see and making conclusions based on incomplete data. Plan to do 3D printer content this year. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Nice. I've been using my what do you call it? What's it called? Elegoo Mars resin 3D printer to print quite a lot of little functional things. This is, in fact, this one is a little tool to help tighten down my Logitech G923 to my desk. It's the sort of tabs, the knobs that you use to tighten it down to the desk are basically slick plastic, and so to tighten it down at all, I designed a little tool. See if it's going to focus on me. A little turning tool that grabs the tiny little veins and you can tighten it down. So that's useful. Also, my partner's sewing machine needed a little like lockable collar to stop the bobbin or whatever falling off. So I designed a bobbin to thread an M3, or I think it was that ended up M4 bolt through it to tighten it down to the thing, and that worked just fine. So yes, but in terms of content, at least not at the moment anyway. Nice. Hello, Mizzy. How you doing, man? The Strixscope RX is one that I reviewed not that long ago and was actually really nice. Although that's not the most budget. I think it's like 120 or 130 pounds. Still very good, especially for an optical mechanical keyboard. Very nice, but yeah. Hello, Joe. How you doing, man? How's things? You looking well today? I have a hot water ball on my back because I'm in a lot of pain, and I've been off the rails mad. So no. But yeah, carrying on as always. Hello, yeah, another user. How you doing, man? How are you in the new year? Well, I'm now older, which is a surprise. You know, it comes every year, and I just never expect it. But other than that, the majority of my time this week has been fixing my main PC because it ended up being my motherboard died, or two memory DIMMs started flaking out, which made for very bad instability and meant that I couldn't render videos fully. And so I'd have to copy the project file to a test system just to render the video, just to upload it. Pain in the ass. And then I used that motherboard because I didn't know it was dead as my test board, which then meant that some of the test results I collected were broken, and so I'm now retesting a 3060 Ti, 1070, 1060, and two Gen 4 NVMe SSDs and one SATA SSD. A lot of stuff. I'm guessing you use Fusion 360 to model parts? Yes, I did. I've been using Fusion 360 for a while. I do model things in Blender every now and again, but that's more for like digital and creative workloads. For anything to scale, anything that I need to fit, you know, something well, Fusion makes more sense, and you can directly export it as an STL that you can open in your slicer of choice, or whatever slicer works for your printer and slice away. Are you staying healthy there, bud? Well, I'm staying COVID free, that's for sure. In terms of healthy, like my other, well, I'll say other, all of my various conditions, no, not really. My eyes have been giving out almost once a week now, which is or annoying. The joints not great in the climate, and the stomach is yeah. At least you got I'm fine look down to a C. Indeed. It's kind of practiced, well practiced. Rip your Mobo. Yeah. Yeah, it's the problem ironically is that when my hard drive died, which wiped out, well, didn't wipe out, but it broke my entire system. I swapped out the motherboard for my test motherboard, which is the more abused one because it comes in and out of a computer every 5 minutes. You know, different RAM configurations, different CPUs, graphics cards, the works. So I swapped my normal board for my test board. And then when the hard drive ended up being the problem, I didn't swap them back. And so using my thoroughly abused for like a year and a half test motherboard as my old reliable workhorse didn't work out so well. I'd put my real name as username. It's just that in English it translates to a feminine name, like Caitlin. I understand that. I take it Caitlin isn't quite how I meant to pronounce that. If so, feel free to elaborate so that I can pronounce it properly, or I can just keep saying, yeah, another user. Yeah. And feel free to message after the stream. I'm currently benchmarking, two, I'm trying to build Dan some pull-up bars or plan pull-up bars, and usual locally stuff. Pain. What's going on mentally and physically? At least it wasn't your GPU that died. True, although I do have quite a few of those around, so it's not too much of a problem. I finally properly set up my lounge turntable, only to realize that there was also a grounding wire for the turntable and not just the preamp. So it's all grounded, has no hiss. Nice. RTX 2060 at 1080p 144Hz opinion. Yeah, should be pretty good. It obviously depends on the game. If you're talking about Cyberpunk, then no, that's not going to work. But if you're talking about COD Modern Warfare, if you're talking about Fortnite, Apex, PUBG, the battle royale genre, generally speaking, you're going to have a pretty good time with that, even on higher ultra settings, and even with Cyberpunk or games like Watch Dogs Legion, if you're running them at more medium, then you're still going to have a pretty good time with them in general. Oh, nice one, Joe. That's awesome. I too am waiting for some 11th gen chips. I did actually get in touch with Intel's PR team, and I should be on the list for press briefings and hopefully samples. So fingers crossed. I do believe that I have some what are they called, Z590 boards coming. Whether I can test any of them is different question, for sure. Oh yes. So the Intel news. It's been CES. We should talk about all of the new things. Right. Duh. So yeah, there's a lot. Starting I guess with Intel, they teased the 11th gen 1190K or whatever, 11900, because that naming scheme makes sense. And yeah. That's now an 8 core instead of a 10 core, as far as I'm aware. And that's will be interesting to see. I wonder if that's because of the thermal budget. I wonder if that's because of power delivery. Like the 10900K was already a very power hungry chip. Even at stock, I think it drew 180 or 220 watts or something like that. And then when you overclocked it, it was easily 280 watts. So with those sorts of power, restraints or constraints, I suppose, the running that faster, running at higher clock speeds, I'm not surprised that they've kind of dropped the cores back down to 8 for the top end. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that performs. They did say that it's faster than AMD's chips for gaming. I assume at 1080p, which cool, fair enough. I think pricing will be the key delineator for that chip and how well it does. Because if it's the same price as the 5900X that they were comparing it to, then yeah. But if it's more like the 5800, even the 5600X, then that's very spicy. How many times will say the competitor in the keynotes? Yeah. And yes, so the other Intel news is that their CEO, Bob Swan, has stepped down and is being replaced by an actual engineer, which is nice. Hopefully that means that Intel will stop taking a wholly profit-driven approach. Is probably the polite way of saying that. I feel like the way that they've been trending for the last while is very much locking everything down, making as much money as possible, but it feels very short-sighted because if you are not offering, at least when they had the performance crown, it was easy to go, well, okay, you've got to put up with these things, but it's a bit naff. But now they don't even have the performance crown, and so yeah, not great. And hopefully it gets better. I believe that on B560 boards, the new budget Intel boards, RAM speed is not going to be limited, which is a really nice shout. Although, interestingly, as far as I'm aware, the new chips are meant to have a DMI 3.0 ATEX link to the chipset, which is essentially PCIe Gen 3 X8. And what that means is that that will be, you'll have more PCIe bandwidth, Gen 3 bandwidth technically, to the chipset. But what that means is the Z490 boards that we were all told you can buy these and they'll just drop in with the new chips. Well, all of those only have DMI 3.0 links, so it will kind of effectively become B550 and X570, but for two different generations of boards, and you're stuck if you have an old one, unless you want to buy another one. So, yeah. Of course, Intel had their own, Nvidia had their own launch of the 3060, which will be interesting to see how that performs. I've finally got my hands on a 3060 Ti, which I've been benchmarking, and yeah. And obviously the Nvidia laptops as well as the AMD laptop CPUs, which will be interesting as well. I'm actually really excited to see how many AMD Ryzen gaming laptops there are right now, or that have been announced. I think out of the maybe like 10 laptops that Acer are launching, 3 or 4 of them are AMD, and of the ones that Asus emailed me, like 4 out of the 6 are AMD. Like, I think it's a majority, and that's really interesting to see. I think the next question is, when will Razer switch over? Joe, the funny thing is that that's actually an MSI card. So I am back in the process of testing their stuff, so we'll see. But yeah, if I have the chance to check out some, I'll see if they've improved at all. Thank you, Phil. You can get it at TechteamGB.co.uk/merch. And I designed it myself in Blender. Should I buy a 3070 or 3080? It kind of depends on your, I guess, priorities, how much you're willing to spend. Because generally speaking, the performance uplift from a 3070 to 3080 probably isn't worth it. But it is a faster card, so if you are willing to spend a bit more to get that more performance, then sure. Liam Jr., I assume. The laptops that I've seen launched, there are a number of non $4 grand laptops for sure. I think Asus is refreshing the Zephyrus G14, which I think is a £1,500 laptop. It might have a slight price hike, but yeah. And I'm sure that there will be plenty of £1,000 to £1,500 laptops with a like Ryzen 5600 or whatever, and a 3060 inside. I know they're doing the G14 and G15. Fair play on a G17. Kind of makes sense, for sure. Intel finally offering more than 4 lanes on the DMI. I know, magic. Is there still major death of GPUs on the market? I believe that stock is slowly coming back. I think the main problem is just there is a whole load of pre-orders still to get through, and so any stock that does come back comes back and then immediately, goes out of stock. Have a quick question. Sure. Have 2 different parallel Ethernet adapters on 2 PCs whose downloads will throttle from about 20 megabits to 1 randomly throughout the day, but Wi-Fi stays consistent at above 10 megabits. So the main trouble with power lines is that you're essentially using already in use wiring for another purpose, and so there is instability to be had there. Things like if your area is subject to power instability, that can affect them, especially frequency instability in your power. So that is very possible, and especially if your Wi-Fi is staying consistent while the power line adapters are, freaking out, that's possible. And then also the notion that you have 2 sets of power line adapters could possibly be a point to note there. 3070 is in stock in my country and it's £800, so yeah. Ouch. Yeah, I might wait a little bit more just to get some power back at some pricing back, or lower the demand so that the price comes back down for before you buy one of those, because that's ouch. Quick question: is getting a 3080 from a premier manufacturer like Asus worth it more over budget offerings like Zotac? Heard Zotac uses lower quality parts in their cards. Wow. So generally speaking, there isn't much of a difference these days. The note on the Zotac card is likely, if I am guessing correctly, is when the 3070 and 3080 launched, and 3090. Basically because the partners had no time to develop the cards, test them, make sure everything is all good, build them at all. The problem with that is Zotac ended up using a configuration that wasn't quite right, and some of those configurations ended up in as customer cards right at launch. That has, as far as I'm aware, since been remedied pretty quickly. So that would be my guess as to where that notion came from. But generally speaking, these days all of the manufacturers offer pretty similar quality cards, and I wouldn't have a problem personally running a Zotac card over an Asus or something like that. In fact, I actually I was running a Zotac 1080 Ti Mini for a good 6 months to a year before I swapped out for the 2080 that I have now. So I have no problem recommending them. Oh, and TechteamGB store when? I will. I'm thinking about it. Quick question: 1.45 volts and 50 degrees on idle with a 1500X, Galahad 360, and Aorus X570 too much. 1.45 volts sounds incredibly high for what I remember. I'm running a 3900X at the moment, and I can check what voltage that's running at. Okay, it's running at 1.394, 375. So I guess not actually. Is that a overclock or is that a factory? That's what it's running at. It looks like my peak voltage so far has been 1.463 volts. So yeah. I think I'm remembering the Intel specs. Sweet, Chris. I could always buy the domain and then just post it to the Teespring for now. Hello, Roberts. 1660 Ti, 3600, 16 gigs RAM, 256 gig SSD, and a 1 TB hard drive, and an Aorus B450 motherboard. Yeah, it's pretty decent. It's a really good budget system. You should be able to play games pretty happily at 1080p, and especially if you're using medium settings or you're playing more esports titles, you should be able to play them at fairly high refresh rate, like 144 Hz, without too much problem. So, yeah. Looking to buy a 4K monitor. What's your best pick? Pick under £300. Kind of stuck between the BenQ EL. You've said the same monitor there twice. I believe that I've reviewed the that BenQ one, and it's pretty nice. Off the top of my head, I don't know what options there are for that kind of money. Normally my recommendation for 4K monitors goes to LG. They generally have very nice panels. The first one and the only one that seems to be in stock right now is 350, but I believe that's the newer version of the one that I reviewed quite a while. Oh, that's temporarily out of stock as well. Well, if it was in stock, that might be quite a nice option. A little bit above your budget. But yeah. Oh, there is a Samsung one as well. For the same for 300, which is also temporarily out of stock. But that might be a good option too. Maybe have a look. Hello, Frameators. How you doing, man? How's things? Indeed, LG has nice monitors. Using one myself right now. Nice one. They have some 4K 144 2 with HDMI 2.1. Really excited. Ah, nice. What you call it? So I actually sent a link to that Samsung one. I mostly use, when I'm using 4K high refresh rate monitors, generally DisplayPort is the standard, but I do understand why having HDMI 2.1 available on those sorts of displays is going to be really nice. Phil, Chris, or Ish, would you? Thank you very much. I was about to ask. Ericsson, no worries. So out of the two that you mentioned, I haven't tested the Samsung one, but from what I've heard, it might be a little bit better. Been thinking of upgrading from a 1080 Ti to a 3080. That would be a very nice upgrade. What resolution are you gaming at? It's probably my first question there. Ow. And Chris and our Frameasters, I thought I recognized the picture. Alex, yes, that's what I was meaning to. I was sort of alluding to. Rain no worky. Yeah, having HDMI 2.1 available for console players who want to use monitors, because I know that that's a thing, makes sense. Can you please tell me Can you please tell monitor manufacturers to streamline their nomenclature? Oh boy, I wish I could. Samsung is one of the worst for that. As you can tell by its model name. Savitron, how do you go about gaining contracts and sponsors in the tech industry? I understand that there's a point where your outreach popularity has them approach you, but in terms of you approaching them first, yeah, pretty much. When you're getting started, the main thing you need to consider, I suppose, is what you're going to offer them. The obvious thing that they're offering you is, products like free samples, right? But it's not free. It's you have to provide something of value to them. And if you are, an incredibly small channel or whatever, or in my case today, if you're using someone else's name to try and get free stuff for yourself, the answer is you're not really giving anything of value. Whereas once you've built up both enough credibility in the industry, because trust me, they talk, it's a lot smaller of an industry than it feels when you first start out. But yeah, they talk about it. So when you have a sort of good reputation and you offer enough, clout, you offer enough exposure, enough sales, enough, even just offering really interesting content can be enough. That's how you help build it, and then you can reach out to emails, you can meet them in person at events, and that sort of thing. It does take persistence. If they don't reply, then that's fine. You can try emailing them again, the next week just to see. But generally speaking, peppering people with emails doesn't work. It just tends to annoy them, and they tend to make group chats about you and laugh at you behind the back. So yeah, but yeah, reaching out to people via email, reaching out to people, especially going to events and speaking with people is a good way to go about it. Imagine monitor manufacturers actually gave the product a good name. I know, that's... What could the world accomplish if monitor manufacturers would just shorten their names? I actually haven't watched the video. I've been meaning to. Was the I guess what did you think about it? What were you saying? Mainly you have to make content about what you buy yourself first, then small peripheral companies will send you stuff, and then eventually big boys pay attention. Yeah, pretty much. The very first thing that us at TechteamGB got sent was a Casa 120mm fan, and we reviewed that fan. That was it. Um, and phone stands, and honestly, I don't even remember what was after that. We'd all just built our first gaming PC, so we all had a load of stuff to review. So yeah. Do something unique is the key. There are enough people already doing reviews on mice and GPUs. Oh, 100%, yeah. The main thing is you like making something unique, making interesting content is more valuable than the fancy cameras and whatever else, right? I mean, I'm already sitting as straight as I can. I have a hot water bottle on my back. It's about as posturific as I can get. I try, but and yes, I do hate the Orb Reaver video. Honestly, I hate it more because it has like 1.5 million views, and so do most people who watch it. Yeah, and so do most people who watch my "Don't Buy a 3070" video. I think that's possibly one of the worst like to dislike ratio videos in a bit, and I knew it was going to happen, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. Managed to buy an LG GL850 this week. Nice, but still hasn't shipped after 4 days. Starting to think they don't have one in stock. That's not so nice. Yeah, I hope so. Maybe give them a call or send them an email and check. And yeah, I can't believe how close I am to the 100k. I didn't expect this. But the obvious thing to say is thank you. Don't buy a gaming laptop right now, and that went very well. Yeah. The number of times that I do videos where I'm not overly confident of people's should buy a certain thing. Yeah, the normally doesn't turn out so well. I think the main thing is that it's when you're offering opinion, and especially a strong opinion, you will always have a strong opinion back, and especially if it's for a like a very touchy subject like video graphics cards right now. It's gonna be pretty mad, yeah. Do you know if any wireless keyboards that can work on both Windows and Mac? Yes, most Bluetooth ones, and also things like the Logitech ones that use the Unify receiver, or just any of the Logitech wireless USB ones, that should work just fine. Yeah, it kind of depends what you're after. There's the really cheap Logitech one that also has the trackpad, but there's also like the fancier Logitech ones. Pretty much any wireless keyboard that uses a USB dongle will work just fine. Oh, actually, better recommendation: the Keychron K2, because that comes with Mac keys in the box as well that you can swap out. Alex, yes, I did indeed send a letter to Linus many a year ago. I was not expecting him to read it out on camera. That was very unexpected, but yeah. The Keychron, yes, the Keychron is the one that MKBHD had and did a video on, yeah. EA lost exclusivity to the Star Wars franchise. Ubisoft is next to try. Interesting. That's surprising. Also, I believe if you use the Epic Game Store, I believe that Battlefront 2 is free on there. There you go. JS, what sort of budget are you after? Managed to get an M27Q this week. Nice one. Still 0 other components for the new PC, but at least I now have a 3 monitor setup for working from home. Nice one. It's what I've got. I've got two 1440p high refresh rate monitors. I don't really need a high refresh rate secondary, but I've got it, so why not? And a 1080p, but a portrait mode display, which works really well for things like Discord. I very much enjoy it. What's the best FPS game that's not Fortnite? I suppose the obvious answer is probably COD Modern Warfare. I've been playing a early access game called Due Process, which is, I wouldn't say it's great. It's kind of like CS:GO and Rainbow Six Siege had a weird like pixel art baby. So that's kind of interesting. It's been a bit fun to play. But yeah, there's a very wide selection to choose from. Nice one, Alex. Have you heard of the 580 Ti? No. Can you do a budget PC video? I did a series that still kind of stands for that. Last year. The obvious answer is go buy a Dell, system from eBay and stick a graphics card and an SSD in it and call it a day. That still kind of stands as the formula for building budget PCs right now. Properly budget, I suppose. Your budget is around €300. Gotcha. So it depends on if you're willing to go to the used market or you want to buy new. If you want to buy on the used market, €300 should get you a GTX 1080 or a 1080 Ti. Whereas on the new market, you're looking at an RX 5600 XT, RTX 2060, or even a 1660 Ti or Super. So the used market definitely offers better performance. Do you have any plans to cover used hardware? That kind of falls under the answer I gave already, which is at the moment not really. Technically speaking, yes. In fact, the video that I'm re-benchmarking for is GTX 1060 and 1070 versus 3060 Ti, and sort of those older cards in 2021, how do they hold up? But in terms of me going out and like buying whatever parts or trying to build, a 4K gaming PC for as little money as possible, that's not on the cards right now. What power supply for a 3060 Ti? I would probably say a 650 watt is a safe bet. 750 watt if you want to go overkill. I want to say I loved your first gen Ryzen retrospective. Thanks. It was kind of interesting to look back, honestly, and look at the performance that they offer and compare it to a sort of modern day counterpart. So yeah. What do you do with all the items you get? Most of them are loaner items. Most of them go back. So the majority of the stuff that you see on the channel is stuff that I have for 1 or 2 weeks, and then it's away again. The small minority of stuff that I don't get that I do get to keep, the majority of it sticks around here for future testing purposes, and then ever so occasionally selling or getting rid of stuff, which actually I have this weekend. I'm going to be doing what is essentially a giveaway on the Discord. I have a load of hardware parts like closed loop water coolers that I've used once for a review or for a build or something, and then put back in their box and not touched again. And so I need space. I have 0 space left in my house. And so what I'm going to be doing is taking a couple pictures of them, sticking them in the Discord, and if you want them, then they will be yours for the price of postage, basically. So free, but give me 10 quid for posting it to you, and you can have those things. Yes, free stuff. It'll be on the Discord over the weekend. 3D printing newbie. The main reason that I haven't done a dedicated VPN video is mostly because I feel I don't quite have the underlying knowledge of not necessarily how they work. I understand that and understand that there are different protocols and that sort of thing, but I'm not well versed in properly testing them. Like I can connect to some of the various locations and do speed tests and see if Netflix works, that sort of stuff, but the actual security side of things, which is obviously the more important thing to test, that's not something I guess I know how to do right now. So I think I'll put it on the list of things that I should research and work out. But the very long story short is that the only 2 VPNs I know that definitely don't keep logs are the ones that have been challenged in US court, which is Private Internet Access and NordVPN. Both of those 2 are actually ones that I have affiliate links for in the description, funnily enough. And those are ones that have been subpoenaed in US court and have said, nope, we don't have logs. We legit don't keep them. Whereas a lot of the other providers do keep some logs, and therefore when they're subpoenaed, they do actually hand things over. Do you have any recommendations for a good gaming laptop for around $1,500 with a decent cooling and is durable? I need around 2060 equivalent, 16 gigs of RAM that won't melt the CPU and GPU after a year. How soon are you looking to buy it? Because if you're looking to buy it like today, then honestly, things like the HP Omen that I did a showcase with yesterday. In fact, if you haven't seen that, feel free to check it out. It's actually a really nice laptop, and also spent a lot of time in the video, so check it out. But the what you call it? If you're willing to wait a little bit, then the Ryzen CPUs that have just been announced, technically the new Intel ones, and the NVIDIA GPUs are all coming soon, and so it could be worth holding out for those if you're willing to wait an extra month or 2 to see how things play out. So technically speaking, my friend Dan has his own VPN, and I've been meaning to set one up myself. You can set it up relatively easily with something like WireGuard. And you can also run virtual private servers and that sort of thing in various data centers around the world and build your network that way as well. But yeah, it depends what you're into. Um, 26th of January launch, that's when the reviews will pop up. I haven't had any yet. I'm hoping for. I've registered my interest for a number of them, but we'll see basically. See how many are available. What FPS should I get in Valo, like Valorant, with a 2080 Ti at 1440p? I would assume quite a lot of them. I don't play nor test Valorant, so I can't tell you. But my assumption is easily in the hundreds. even on high settings. It's not a incredibly demanding game, if I remember rightly. Yeah. Hello, got a 3060 Ti dual OC model. Cannot figure out how to change the RGB on it. I know it changes because it turns red when I turn it off. How can I change it with software? So the answer is you'll probably need to download the ASUS Aura Sync software or Armory, whichever one controls it these days. Go to search for that graphics card model. Go to ASUS's website, click support, and then click the software features and download whatever software it says controls the RGB, basically. Nice one, Mickey. Do you actually have it in, or is it that like you're pre-ordering it now? My Strix Vega will last me a few more months until I get a 6800 XT at list price, so that'll probably be Christmas. I hope not. I really hope not. But yeah. Are the Palette GPUs reliable? Palette is a brand that has actually been around for a very long time. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, yes. I haven't heard any significant problems with them. But yeah. Should I get a 2080 Ti or a Vega 64 for CAD? I guess it depends on what program. I believe SolidWorks still only has CUDA acceleration. I could be wrong, but I believe so. Whereas, generally speaking, NVIDIA still has the advantage because of CUDA. So probably the 1080 Ti. Nice one, John. Very selfless of you. Do you think a 3600X will bottleneck a 5600 or vice versa? So the thing about bottlenecking is that it's not that simple. It's not, one or the other, because what if you got so let's say 3600X, right? If you drop in a 3900X, you're gonna get more performance out of that same graphics card. It's not gonna be all that much, but you're gonna get more performance. And the same if you go with a 3600X and you upgrade to a 5700X, where you're gonna get more performance out of that CPU. They're not bottlenecking isn't a singular limit or point, and it also depends on things like what resolution you game at, or what programs you use, whatever else. With that said, I think that a 3600X and a 5600XT are going to be a pretty decent combination. So I wouldn't worry about it, I'd say. I have Armory and Aura. I haven't found anything and looked through the forums, nothing. Can I make software to change it somehow? So if you can't find any way to change it in ASUS software, you're not going to be able to write your own software to do it. It should be in there. My only possible thought is that because you have the 3060 Ti, and that's a relatively new card, there's a possibility that their software team hasn't updated their software to be able to support those cards. Technically, it's probably not a problem, but it's possible. Is an SLI setup worth it? No, is the short answer. SLI isn't supported in very many games, and even of the few games that it is supported in, it's still not really worth it. Nice one, Chris. Yes, I would argue that SLI is close to, if not already, dead. 2700 will bottleneck a 2080 Ti, right? Again, like yes and no. That would be a more significant bottleneck than say a 3600X would. But again, it's not quite that simple. That makes sense. And see you, Alex. Catch you later. I recently had to mortgage my 3 kids and sell my half-eaten Subway sandwich to buy a 3090. I regret my decision. Any advice? No, I think that's a pretty sensible move. You can definitely get more performance out of a 3090 than you can a half-eaten Subway sandwich and your 3 kids. So yeah, nice job. Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh, tomorrow's video is an interesting one. It is the Cyberant Rocket 4 Plus, which is the new proper PCI Gen 4. I'm going to say proper, I mean it actually, you know, does closer to the theoretical maximum speeds. And yeah, it's a pretty impressive drive, and I think you might like it. What about if I sell my kidney? Do I need to sell one or both of them? In theory, one should be fine. 2 if you want, you know, SLI 3090s, because that is a thing. Although you won't need to be doing it from the comfortable seat of a dialysis machine. So yeah. Do I watch Formula 1? I do indeed. And do I work out in any way? I do occasionally. I have a set of weights that you can't quite see that sit under there, and I take out. And I used to go to the gym when that was allowed. But at the moment, the pain is difficult. So yeah. When I went to the gym, it was mostly just doing rowing machine to keep fitness and to, you know, maintain muscle mass. Beat Saber is also great for working out, and I do partake as well. And yeah, you know, when it's summertime, I both mountain and motorbike. So yeah. Fair play. Yeah, I work out as much as I can. I have arthritis in every joint in my body, so I can work out as much as I like, but it still damn well hurts. What motorbike? It's a Suzuki SV650S. Decent jack, decent. I think that performed pretty well. Who do I support in F1? No one really. I was very hopeful for Russell getting both a second shot in the seat and also taking either Bottas or Hamilton's seat in 2021. I'm interested for the refresh of the cars. Do I sim race? Not properly. Like, I have a wheel, I drive in it, I drive with it and all that jazz, but I don't race all that well or all that much. With that said, I'm gonna catch you. Still play Pokemon Go to get me outside. Yeah. I will catch you guys next week. Thank you for joining. I do these every 8 p.m. Thursday nights. If you want to, you know, hop back. And like I said, there's plenty of videos coming as usual on Friday, Monday, Wednesday. So feel free to check them out. But Otherwise, stay safe, and we'll catch you all in the next stream and or video.